Welcome to the Dynon channel, your video source for information, education, and training on Dynon Avionics' industry-leading line of integrated avionics for experimental amateur-built and light sport aircraft. Today's topic, Skyview System, updating the Aviation and Obstacles database.
Hello. In today's video, I'm going to demonstrate the process for downloading from Dynon Avionics website the periodic updates to Aviation and Obstacles data files and subsequently uploading those files to your Skyview system. This video is going to cover that process for FAA data files. For those pilots using Pocket FMS or Jeppesen data, the download process is similar, but it must be done from each of those providers' websites, and I won't be covering that in this video. However, the last portion, that of uploading the file to your Skyview, is identical no matter who your data provider is. Now, in today's video, I'm using a computer running the Windows operating system, and I'll be covering the download process in a couple of different browsers. If you happen to be using a Macintosh computer with the Safari browser, I may cover that process in a future video. And secondly, I must assume that you already know how to maneuver to the Dynon Avionics website in your own browser. It's not my objective in this video to teach you everything you need to know about running a computer. So, to carry on, here we are looking at the Dynon Avionics website, and initially I'm demonstrating using the Chrome browser. To get to the database updates page, you merely need to locate this button at the left side of the screen. Notice there's a stack of blue buttons here, and the top one is labeled Database Updates and Software Updates. Using your left mouse button, click on that object there, and it'll take us to the Software Downloads page. Now on this page, the first section covers the Skyview system, and the very first link in that section addresses the Aviation and Obstacles databases. And I'm going to select that link now, again clicking once with the left mouse button. And finally, here we are at the database download page. Notice in this section indicated by my mouse cursor, we're looking at the current data set of the U.S. Aviation Data and Obstacles data file. Both data sets are combined in a single downloadable file. The left portion of the screen indicates that these data files are appropriate for use in those Skyview systems running firmware version 7.0 and higher. Now on the right side of the screen, there's a link. You should be familiar with this presentation of an underlined link that you can click on to get to the location or object you're seeking. Before you click on that link, however, we need to insert a USB stick into the computer because the USB stick is necessary to deliver that data file to your Skyview system. Now here on my computer you see two different USB sticks. Both of these are types of USB sticks that have been shipped with Skyview systems over the years. You may have either type. You also have the option of using a USB stick that you provide yourself. For my purposes today, I'm using this silver USB stick. You might be able to see the Dynon logo imprinted in the video here. And I'm going to insert that into the USB port on my computer. You'll have to locate the USB port on your own computer. Now when I insert that stick, notice on my window a dialog box has appeared, and it tells me a couple of things. At the top, it tells me that the drive letter assigned to that stick, in parentheses, is currently F, as in Foxtrot. No matter the source of your USB stick, it will always be assigned a drive letter by your computer. The left portion of this label says Dynon. That's what we call a drive label, and if you're using a Dynon supplied USB stick, it will have that Dynon label assigned. If you're using your own USB stick, it may have no label, or it may have a label that you've assigned yourself. In any case, what's important for you to remember is the drive letter that's assigned to this stick in this dialog. You'll need to remember that drive letter to locate this stick in a future step. Now down below you'll see a picture of a manila folder and a link that says Open Folder to view files. I'm going to click on that now so you can see the contents of this USB stick. Now on the right side of the screen we see a couple things. First of all, there are two existing data files on this stick. They are from prior data cycles that I've previously downloaded to this stick. Those can stay on the stick for the Skyview system will require you to select which data file you're planning to upload when we get to a later step. And up above, notice you see a folder labeled Skyview Installation and User Guides. Our tech support staff will thank me for reminding you that all of the installation and user manuals for the Skyview system are included on this USB stick, which gets shipped with every Skyview display. So please take the time to investigate those manuals as well. You'll be glad you did. Now, one last thing I'll say about this process. If this had been the first time I inserted the USB stick in my computer, initially I might have seen a dialog appear in the lower right-hand corner of my screen indicating that the system is currently installing a device on my computer. In my case, this USB stick has been in and out of my computer a number of times, and so it skipped that process. But you will always have the option to see this window to look at the file contents on that stick. Now, I'm going to leave the USB stick installed, but I'm going to close this window for now, and we're back to the browser. Now, here I am back at the data file download page, and I'm going to now show the process for downloading that file to the USB stick we inserted into the computer. Returning to this portion of the screen, here is the link to the data file, and you may be tempted to click on that with your left mouse button. If you do that, however, the computer will automatically write the file to a location on your hard drive, and it can be difficult to locate that file later on when you want to transfer it to your USB stick. It's much simpler if you direct the file to be written directly to that stick in this process, and I'm going to show you how. So rather than using your left mouse button to click on this link, we're going to use a process called the right click. And that is, we hover the mouse pointer over the link and then click the right mouse button. When I do that, a new dialog appears, and it has a list of several options. In the Chrome browser, which we're using right now, we're interested in this fourth item that says Save Link As. I want to choose that option, and now I'll use the left mouse button. Clicking that now, a window opens up, and this window is showing me some location of the computer's choosing. It happens to be pointing to a location on the hard drive, and I want to circumvent that and tell the computer to write the file directly to the USB stick. Hopefully you remember from a prior step that that stick is labeled Drive F, as in Foxtrot, on my computer. So I need to maneuver in this window to select that USB stick. I'll pull the bar down on the left side of my window until I can see the list of all the drive letters available. And here we see in this list, there's the drive letter F. And again, my USB stick had the label Dynon because it's the Dynon supplied stick. In your case, you may only have a drive letter that you recall from inserting that stick. Now I'm going to use the left mouse button to select that USB stick, and the window changes on the right side to show me the contents of that stick. We saw this same list a few minutes ago when we looked at that USB stick. Now, down here in the lower section, there's a field name that's called File Name, and the computer here has assigned a pre-formatted file name to this data file that we're about to download. Let me decode that name for you. It says FAA underscore AV 1511 underscore OB 1506 underscore 13.0. What that means is this is a data file provided by the FAA as opposed to Pocket FMS or Jeppesen. Next, it says AV, which stands for the Aviation data set, and the cycle number is 1511. And then next is the OB, which stands for the Obstacles data portion, cycle 1506. And then finally, the numbers 13.0 refer to the current firmware version for the Skyview system. In a prior window, you saw that this data file will in fact work on Skyview systems running firmware as old as 7.0. Now, Assuming that you are content with this file name, the last step is to come down to the lower portion of the window and use the left mouse button to click Save. I've done that, and the computer is writing that file to the USB stick. In my browser, Chrome, it also confirms for me in the lower portion of the screen that the file has been written somewhere. And if I wanted to explore the contents of that USB stick, there are steps to do that on your own computer. I'm not going to cover that just now. Instead, I'm going to switch next to the Firefox browser and the Internet Explorer browsers in turn and show you the download process from there. Okay, here we are looking at the Firefox browser. I've already maneuvered to the database downloads page, and I'm going to repeat the process we saw moments ago. In this case, I'm going to again right-click on the download link. So doing that now, a similar window appears. This looks very similar to the window we saw in the Chrome browser. However, the option we want to select now is the fifth item down. Again, it's labeled Save Link As, and I will click on that with the left mouse button. The same type of dialog appears. Again, the computer by default is trying to write that to a location on my hard drive. And again, I must scroll down the list on the left side of the window and point to the USB stick where I intend to write that file. And I'll doing that now. We still have the pre-assigned computer file name here, but you'll notice on the right side of the window, because we're looking at the same stick I used moments ago, we can see that the file is already written on that stick. If it weren't there, we would simply accept this file name and press Save. But I'm going to cancel that for now because the file's already there, and now we'll show the same process using the Internet Explorer browser. Okay, here we are looking at the Internet Explorer browser, the same database download page. And again, here is my downloadable link. Hovering my mouse button over that link, I right-click. Now another dialog window opens. This looks somewhat different than the window we saw in Chrome and Firefox, but the essence is the same. We scroll down the list, and in Internet Explorer, we're seeking a label that says Save Target As. I point to that with my left mouse button and click, and the same window we've seen before. Here's the pre-assigned file name. Again, the computer is by default attempting to write that file to a hard drive location. I need to scroll down the left side of the window, point to the USB stick, drive letter F, and click with my left mouse button. And again, the last step would be to click the Save button. Now, before we move on to the upload process, that is loading the data file into your Skyview system, I want to show you one last special concept having to do with the file name of the data file on your USB stick. To do that, I'm going to download the file again to the same location. Now I'm back using the Chrome browser. So using this browser, I hover over the download link, right-click with the right mouse button. Again, I scroll down this list to the item that says Save Link As and click with the left mouse button. This time when I do that, the computer looks first on the USB stick and sees that we have already downloaded a file with this name. We did that in a prior step in this video. Here we see that the file name is the same except for the last several characters. Because the computer recognizes this file name, it is appending a space and then a parentheses, the numeral 1, and a closed parentheses. That's the computer's way of telling you, hey, you've already downloaded this same file name once before. I'm going to give this new file name a similar but distinct file name. You can go ahead and accept this file name, and I'll do that now, and we'll see what happens. I clicked on the Save button, and the computer here in the lower corner on Chrome, it's telling me I did in fact write the file to that USB stick. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to review the contents of that USB stick and how to change that file name if necessary. On the Windows operating system, we can point the mouse at this Windows symbol in the lower left-hand corner, click with the left mouse button, And then on the right side here, I'm going to select the item named computer. Again, clicking with the left mouse button. Here's a list of the various locations on my computer. Here I will scroll up to the item labeled Dynon parentheses F. Click once with the, click twice with the left mouse button. And now in the right side of the window, we see a list of the contents on that USB stick. And notice these last two entries. These are the data files I've just downloaded in this video. Here's the first version with no parenthetical, and above it is the second time I downloaded that file, and notice the space, parentheses, 1, close parentheses. What you need to understand is that some older firmware versions in the Skyview system are unable to view files that have a space character in the file name. If I wanted to rename that file, I would have to use the renaming process. I'm not going to complete it, but I'm going to tell you that to rename a file, we click on it once, then use the right-click function to open up this dialog, and now near the bottom we have an option that says rename. If I clicked on that with the left mouse button, it highlights the first portion of the name and allows me to edit that. I'm not going to cover the rest of the renaming process in detail. I leave that to you to understand how to do this process on your own computer system. For now, I'm going to close this window, and we're now going to switch to see how to upload this file into your Skyview system. Okay, here we are looking at my demonstration Skyview display. It's running some simulation software here, but it'll work for our purposes. I now want to demonstrate the process of uploading the data file we downloaded in a prior segment. To upload files into your Skyview system, you have to access the system setup menus, and hopefully you're familiar with this. To do that, you must press and hold buttons 7 and 8, and I'm doing that now. Now my Skyview system believes it's in flight, and so it takes me first to this half-screen setup menu and says, here are a couple items you might reasonably do in flight. I have to bypass that and go to the full screen setup menu. Now hopefully you at home are doing this when you're stationary on the ground, and your Skyview system would come immediately to this full screen setup menu. Now look at the first item on the left. It says system software, but in parentheses it says insert the USB drive. I haven't put the USB stick in, and so the Skyview has no source for information. Here in my hand, I have the USB stick we previously downloaded that data file to. I have to insert that into my Skyview system now. I'm going to turn my display around so that you can see here in the back of every Skyview display are two onboard USB ports. I can use either of those ports. Now, depending on how your Skyview system was installed, you may also have a third USB port that's at the end of a cable on Skyview's primary harness, and it may be connected to a USB port through your instrument panel. So in your aircraft, you may have access to a USB port from the front of the instrument panel. I don't have that here, so I'm going to go ahead and insert this stick, and I'm going to quickly turn my display around so we're looking at the main setup menu here. And notice how the screen will change in just a moment once Skyview identifies that stick. You can see the menu changed, and Skyview says, I know you have a USB stick installed. I'm ready to go. The next step is on the second side of the screen, so I use the joystick to click to the right, and it slides the menu over, and I have multiple choices here. I'm interested in the second item that says Load Files. So rotating my knob, I'll highlight that item and click the joystick to the right, and here we have the Load Files screen. In this list, Skyview is showing to me all of the available files on the USB stick. It may not be every file on the stick, it's only those files that are recognizable to the Skyview system. And I'll point out that there are 4 files available. The first 2 are prior data cycles that I've downloaded sometime in the past. And notice the last 2 should be recognizable to you as the 2 files I downloaded previously. They are the same data cycle file. The first is the bottom one that says the full name and firmware version 13.0. And if I rotate the knob to the item above, it's the same file name. And do you recall that it's appended with the space character parentheses 1 close parentheses. Those, for our purposes, are duplicate files. I hope you'll also recall that I said for some older firmware versions in Skyview, the system may simply ignore the file with the parentheses and the space character. In that case, you wouldn't even see the file in this list. For my purposes today, I'm going to assume that it's the bottom file we want to load. So I'll rotate my knob, highlight that file, and the final step in the upload process is to press button 8, which is now labeled Load. When I press that button, notice the computer gives me one last chance to confirm. It repeats for me that file name and says, "Are you sure?" Yes, I'm sure. I'll confirm that again with button 8. Now you're going to see some progress bars appear, and some of these quickly flash green and say 100%. You need to be patient here because there's several steps it's going through, and we need to wait until the computer completes all those steps. And finalizing new database, 100% complete. Notice it still says do not power off Skyview during this load. You want to be careful not to bump any switches, unplug any cables. This is what we're looking for. Finally, it says operation completed successfully, and I complete the process again by pressing button 8, which is now labeled Done. I'll press that now. We return to the System Software menu, and we can return to the main Skyview display itself by pressing button 2, now labeled Exit. And here we are back to our Skyview display. The last step I'll show you is the method for confirming the version of the data file that is in fact loaded on your Skyview system. To do that, we're simply going to return to the Skyview system setup by pressing and holding buttons 7 and 8. Again, we're in the half screen setup menu here. I'll bypass to the full setup menu. Now in this case, I'm interested in the third item down. It says local display setup. I'll highlight that option now by rotating the knob. Click the joystick to the right, and notice the very first option in this list says installed databases. If I read on the right side of my screen, I can see the Aviation data file and the active date for that data set, which says 2015-10-15, which is October 15th through November 11th. And the obstacles data file is active from October 15th through December 9th. You would have to remember back to the Dynon web page we were looking at when we downloaded that file to know that that is in fact the active dates for the file we just downloaded. But it makes sense for me in this video. Today's date is November 4th. That falls within this data set, so I have a current data file. From this date, however, I can see that in just another 7 days I will need to upload another newer data file. So that completes the process of uploading the data file to your Skyview display. So there you have it. I've shown you the complete process of downloading the data file update, the Aviation and Obstacles data file from the Dynon website, and then uploading that file into your Skyview display. But I want to tell you about one shortcut. Normally, for each Skyview display in your system, you would need to separately upload this data file to each display, inserting the USB stick in turn in each Skyview display. However, if you have 2 Skyview displays and only 2 Skyview displays in your plane, there's a shortcut, and that is if you have connected the optional Ethernet cable between the 2 displays. In that scenario, after you complete the data file upload process on either display, the system will then automatically transfer that data file over to the second display in the system. But again, this shortcut only works if you have 2 and only 2 displays. If you have 1 Skyview display, or if you have multiple displays, more than 2, or finally if you have 2 displays with no Ethernet cable, then you have to upload the data file separately on each Skyview display. So thanks for joining me in this video. I appreciate your attention, and go fly safe.
For more information on planning or capabilities of the Skyview system, please see our website at dynonavionics.com, where you can find links to our system installation guides, pilot user guides, and other valuable information like our user forum. Thank you for watching the Dynon channel.